Alright, in today's video, I'm going to be doing something a little bit newer where I do a deck dive, a deck tech of a current deck that you can build and have fun with in the current Shadowverse Evolve meta. It could be any Shadowverse Evolve meta. Obviously, right now we're in Neometropolis, so this deck dive is for that set. But in future sets, I might do more. And these deck dives could be either meta decks like top tier decks or rogue decks. And as you can see from the tokens, the deck I will be going over for Neometropolis is mono or Machina Abyss, whatever you like to call it. I know this deck didn't get much support in Neometropolis, but it is still a very top tier deck. And yeah, I mean, we'll go over the followers first, and then spells. If you don't know how this deck works, the main concept is to kind of spew out as many Machina followers on the field, because a lot of your storm damage really heavily depends on whether you have 5 Machina followers on the field. For example, these two monos, the 3-cost mono and 2-cost mono, they both have text that read if there's 5 Machina followers on the field, it does this ability. For 2-cost mono, it allows her to evolve. For 3-cost mono, it allows her to do another ability and have storm. So yeah, and we have a bunch of followers, a bunch of spells that allow us to do that constantly. And yeah, this deck just kind of spews out a bunch of Machina followers, most of them just 1/1s. These little drones, 1/1. These are super important to the deck. So yeah, we'll go over the followers and then the spells. This deck is very well known for spewing out a whole bunch of damage, bursting for a bunch of damage if you leave anything up, and I will explain how that works. So yeah, for the 1-cost followers, the first follower is Mecha Gun Wielder. This is a very what's it called, generic 1-cost follower. It's a 1-cost 1/2. This is your goblin in the deck. And on Fanfare, it allows you to put an assembly droid in repair mode into your EX, and then last words, you discard a Machina card and you draw a card. That discarded Machina card actually comes in so useful, and I'll explain why in a second. But the Fanfare, you usually just get the assembly droid. It's very rare to get the repair mode unless you're like super weak and you really need a heal. But for most cases, if you just kind of go for the assembly droid, just because having the Machina count in the field is very important. Alright, and the next follower the next 1-cost follower, which is the last 1-cost follower as well, is Roly Poly Mark 1, which you run 3 of. Also, you run 3 of Mecha Gun. I don't know if I mentioned that. Roly Poly Mark 1 is a 1-cost 1/3 with ward that reads, if there's an Anea Amethyst Rebel on the field, if it would take more than 1 damage, it takes 1 instead. And then you can also summon him from grave for 1, and then he just banishes himself, and he also gets +1 attack. So this is a great 1-cost or turn 1 play if you don't have the Mecha Gun or if you don't have a spell. He's a great 1-cost, and then he just comes back again after you play one Anea. So he's very good to kind of get your mono turns off, and he's also very beefy for a 1-cost. So yeah, those are your 1-costs. Let's get into our 2-costs. All right, and for your 2-cost followers, the first one is 2-cost Nicola, which I like to call him, which is just which you can run 3. I run 2. I've even seen some decks not run him at all, but I really like him just for the clear. If you don't know what he is, he's a 2-cost 1/2, which reads, while there's another Machina follower on your field, this has Russian Bane. So the Bane comes in really handy for to swing into like big statted monster or big statted followers that your opponent has. He's just here to clear. He also has the fanfare that if he wasn't put onto the field from your hand, he gets a sail. So if you played him from your EX or from like an Anea, he is a 2-cost 1/2 that has Rush, Bane, and a sail. So he's just a really good clear. He's better than the 2-cost spell in my opinion. That deals 6 if there's a Nicola on your field, I believe. Yeah, he's just better. He's also just better to get with Nicola, and yeah. The next 2-cost is Hoverboard Mercenary, which you run 3 of. This is just to spam your board with the assembly droids. That is basically it. It is a 2-cost 1/1 that summons an assembly droid and puts a repair mode in your EX. And it also has an evolve, which you run 2 of. In this deck, in this version of the deck at least, I've seen decks run only 1 of. I like running 2 ofs for the hoverboard, which on evolve summons another assembly droid and puts a repair mode in your EX. So this alone summons 3 Machina followers, including herself, and then 2 repair modes on evolve. Super good for this deck. I'll explain why here in a second whenever we get to mono and how to get like these plays going. But yeah, it's just a follower to summon out the assembly droids basically. It's also another great target for a 3-cost Nicola, which we'll get to in a second. The next follower in this deck is it is why you play Machina Abyss, honestly. It is the main star of Machina Abyss, which is Mono Garnet Rebel, which is a 2-cost 3/2, which reads, evolve this follower for 1, activate only if there's at least 5 Machina followers on your field. Which is why the whole point of everything is to get 5 Machinas. That's why you play hoverboard. It just allows you to get to the mono turn much easier. It also has another effect that you can banish 2 Machina cards in your cemetery, and then you summon an assembly droid. If you remember the Mecha Gun on Last Words, you can discard a Machina card and draw a card. That's where that comes in. Is for this mono banish 2, get an assembly droid. And the reason you're so desperate for the 5 Machina cards is for her evolve effect, which you run 3 of, which is a 5/4 storm. By itself, it's nothing that special. It's just 5 damage to face. But it also has another effect that you banish an alpha drive from your cemetery, and then you give all other Machina followers, on your field +2/+2 and rush. So we'll explain what alpha drive does later, but it is a 1-cost spell that when you banish it, it will just buff everything. So you can imagine if they leave anything up, if they leave these 1/1s, they suddenly become 1-cost 3/3s that are swinging for 3 damage. They also have rush, so they could just like swing into a ward. And then the +2/+2, it also gives it to Mono herself. So she is swinging for 7 damage at that point. Mono is probably the reason why you run this deck. The regular evolve without the alpha drive is good. Nothing to like not do, like if you have the chance, you should do it, and you just swing face. But with the alpha drive, it just becomes much better. The next 2-cost is Anea, 2-cost Anea, which is a 2-cost 1/1 that evolves for 1. That is it with this. And her evolve, you run 3 of, by the way, her evolve and her regular. Her evolve is a 2/2 that says on evolve, search for Roly Poly Mark II, summon it, and then shuffle your deck. And we'll explain what Roly Poly Mark II does. But on Super Evolve, this is probably the only follow you run that has an on Super Evolve effect. You can get a Machina follower from your cemetery, and then it costs 3 less to play that turn. So she's really good. She makes the deck much better, especially because of the Super Evolve, and then the Roly Poly allows you to cycle through your deck. I'll explain what Roly Poly Mark II does, but yeah, it just allows you to cycle your deck and then also get a Machina follower. The most common on Super Evolve target for this is 4-cost Anea, and we'll explain what 4-cost Anea does in a bit. So like I said, the next 2-cost follower is Roly Poly Mark II, which is summoned off of Anea. But also you can just play him off your hand, which is a 2-cost 1/3, so the same stats as Mark 1. But the fanfare reads: look at the top 2 cards of your deck, and then you can add a Machina card to your hand, and then you bury the other one. So he's really good to like cycle through your deck, find the pieces that you need, and kind of just, he's also a very big statted ward, and going turn second, going Anea into Roly Poly and then just passing is one of the most common turns ever, and it is and it's really hard for them to clear one or the other. So yeah, and now we're going to 3-cost followers. Alright, and so for the first 3-cost follower that we will be going over is 3-cost Nicola. I only run 2. Some decks run 3. If you don't run the 2-cost Nicola, then you should run 3 of him. He's really good on fanfare. You bury the top 2 cards of your deck. Really good for your mono second effect, which, if you remember what it does, it banishes 2 cards in your cemetery to summon a 1/1 assembly droid. So this just allows you to do that. It also allows you to kind of cycle through your deck and hopefully see Alpha Drive earlier. Like I said, we'll explain what Alpha Drive is. But yeah, by itself, it's just a 3-cost 3/3 that evolves for 1 and buries the top 2. And as for his evolve, on evolve, select a Machina follower or a Machina card in your EX that costs 2 or less, or not EX, sorry, cemetery that costs 2 or less, and it costs 2 less to play this turn. Great targets for this is 2-cost Nicola if you need to kind of clear something, and it also gets a sale off of it because it puts it into your EX area. It doesn't put it into your hand. And then also Hoverboard is a great target if they have nothing on their board. With Hoverboard, you're basically summoning or having 3 Machina followers at that point that they need to clear. The next great target is actually Roly Poly Mark II. It just allows you to cycle through your deck much faster as well. So yeah, those are like the great targets. You rarely get mono off of that. You can if you want to put up the pressure and like kind of card check them, but it's not the greatest play. But you can do it if you want to just have mono out there, you know. And then the next 3-cost, which is the last 3-cost follower, it is 3-cost mono. It is a 3-cost 2/2 that on fanfare summons an assembly droid. And then on strike, it also has a strike effect that on strike, select an enemy follower on the field and deal it damage equal to the other Machina followers on your field. And then it also has a secondary effect that you can pay 0 to give her +1/+1 and storm, and you can only do that once per turn, and you can only do that if there's at least 5 Machina followers on the field. So you can imagine if you have 4 assembly droids, let's just say, or 3 assembly droids, and then you play 3-cost mono, It summons an assembly droid for yourself. You use the effect, you swing 3 damage to face, and then you burn one of their followers for 4 damage. It's a great follower. It makes this deck so much more viable because you're just kind of burning. You're clearing, but also putting pressure by swinging face. It's a great card. Very good card to combo with a mono, and I'll explain how you can do that in a second. But yeah, great card. Also, very great target for the 2-cost Anea, which is on Super Evolve, which will summon this for free. So those are 3 costs. Let's go into 4 costs. Okay, and for the last follower in this deck, and the only 4 cost in the deck, it is Anea. This is a 4-cost 2/2 that searches your deck for a Machina follower that costs 3 or less and summons it. Great targets for this Anea is Nicola. It's probably the most common target in Nicola, or Anea, then Nicola, and then Nicola berries 2. You evolve Nicola and summon something else. Very great. If you have at least 1 or 2 other Machina followers on the field, then 3-cost mono is also a great target. There's situations where you even go for the 2-cost mono if you kind of have 4 already on the board, or 3 because mono can summon 1. Hoverboard is also a great target. Just having this on the board and then instantly evolving it, just putting that pressure onto your opponent, great. If you really need the clear and you don't have evil points, or you don't have another way to clear their big body, then Nicola is also a great choice. The 2-cost Nicola. But besides that, 2-cost Anea is also very great. So this is one of the cards that is getting restricted down to 1 in I think late August, maybe early September. So just keep that in mind, that this does get restricted to 1 in the future. But as for now, as I'm making this video, as Neometropolis is like the current set, it is still at 3. So alright, and going over to the spells, most of your spells are just 1-cost spells. These spells just allow you to kind of search for your pieces, survive the early game, and also just spew out a bunch of followers onto the field. The first 1-cost spell in this deck is Detorites, which is just a very common Abyss card at this point. It is just a 1-cost spell that is a quick that selects an enemy follower on the field and gives it -2/-2. So it's just a great removal spell for the early game, just to like gain tempo back. So the next 1-cost spell is Garnet Waltz. It has 2 effects. It reads: choose 1, deal 2 damage to the enemy leader and deal 1 to yourself. And then the other effect is summon an assembly droid and put 1 assembly droid into your EX. If there is a mono Garnet Rebel on the field, summon both tokens instead. So there's 2 ways to play with this. It's either just swing or dealing damage, burning damage to face, putting up that pressure, or just summon the 2 assembly droids to kind of pressure them into trying to use their cards to clear these 1/1s instead. The next 1-cost spell is Alpha Drive. Is probably why this deck is top tier. If you don't know what Alpha Drive is, it's a 1-cost spell that reads: choose 1 of the following, select a Machina follower in your cemetery, add it to hand, or select a mono Garnet Rebel in your cemetery and summon it. If you don't know what that is the 2-cost mono. So with Alpha Drive, you can just summon the 2-cost mono, hopefully have 5 or 4 Machina followers on the field, or evolve mono, and then use the mono evolve effect to give everything +2/+2, because Alpha Drive is in the cemetery. So you play Alpha Drive, summon mono, evolve mono, banish the alpha drive, and then give everything +2/+2. It is insane. If they leave anything up and you have an alpha drive in your hand and a mono in your cemetery, it gets pretty insane. So the next one cost is Steeled Hopes. This could be played in two different ways. The first one, select your deck or search your deck for a Machina follower and add it to your hand. Very simple. And then shuffle. Usually the main targets for that is 4-cost Anea, any pieces that you need to kind of pressure them. So like 2-cost mono, 3-cost mono, even 2-cost Anea. So the other effect for this is you can pay an additional 6, so 7 in total, and search your deck for a Machina follower that costs 4 or less, a Machina follower that costs 3 or less, and a Machina follower that costs 2 or less. If you've been paying attention, you know that 4 or less is Anea, 3 or less is 3-cost mono, and 2 or less is 2-cost mono. So with this alone, you can get a full board of Machina followers and then just swing face. It's pretty insane. One of my favorite spells in this deck. The last spell is Friends Forever. I've seen decks run multiple copies of this. I only run one just because I've never seen the need for more than one. If you ever get to the point where you need more than one, you kind of already lost the game or you're about to. So if you don't know what this spell is, it's a 5-cost that allows you to select up to 2 Machina followers in your cemetery that cost a total of 5 or less, and summon them. Most common targets is Anea 1-cost plus a Mecha Gun or Roly-Poly. The other most common targets is 2-cost mono plus 3-cost mono. Very, very good. It's a great spell if you're kind of running out of tempo and you kind of just want to spam the board again with a bunch of Machina followers. If you haven't noticed yet, this deck basically just summons a whole bunch of dudes over and over again. It kind of puts the pressure on your opponent again and again and again. Yes, there are 1/1s, 2/2s, but it's very hard for most current decks to kind of deal with that unless they run the specific tech for it. So that is the deck dive for Machina Abyss or Mono Abyss, whatever you like to call it. This deck is currently one of the top tier decks in Neometropolis. Even though it didn't get any support this set, it is still very, very strong. And yeah, it's gonna stay strong for a little bit until they nerf Anea, which will make it so you can only run one of her in your deck. But even then, the deck is not bad whatsoever. It would just turn like from a tier 1 to like maybe a tier like top of tier 3 or low tier 2. So it's still a pretty decent deck. But yeah, let me know if you want more of these type of videos, and I'll do more. Obviously with different decks. And if you have a specific deck you would like me to go over or show you an example version of it, let me know. And yeah, have a great day.